Hello, I'm Joseph Dillard, and welcome to the Cognitive Distortion section on the Integral Deep Listening video curricula. In this one, we want to talk about a concept developed by Ken Wilber called the Pre-Trans Fallacy. And to talk about that, I want to begin with a Greek myth. Procrustes was a robber in Greek mythology. He would waylay travelers and tie them to his bed, which was a rack. If they were too short for it, he would stretch them on the rack until they fit. If they were too long for his bed, he would shorten them until they fit. This is a metaphor that describes exactly what you and I do to our world when we use this cognitive distortion, the pre-trans fallacy. First described by Ken Wilber in 1975 in the Atman Project, the pre-trans fallacy creates depression and anxiety while validating grandiosity. It does so by confusing early and late developmental stages in one of two ways. Either late developmental stages, called transpersonal, are confused with early ones, the prepersonal, in a fallacy called reductionism, or early developmental states, that's prepersonal states, are confused with late states, in a fallacy called elevationism. In either case, the result is depression, anxiety, and grandiosity. Reductionism occurs when you reduce experiences that transcend and include your experience to your level, or to a previous, less developed level, usually as some immature delusion. For example, this occurs when near-death or other mystical experiences are reduced to brain chemistry and psychotic hallucinations. Most scientists, from Freud to Skinner to Watson and Crick, commit this fallacy. Reductionism is also called discounting. It cuts you off from your emerging potentials by assuming they are of no value or importance. It aborts your development by blocking all the stairs that lead upward. When you use reductionism, you describe your experience in ways that makes growth past a certain point impossible. The conflict between the future you that wants to emerge and the truncated reality you insist on creates depression and anxiety. It validates grandiosity because it confirms that your present level is the peak of human development. Elevationism, on the other hand, aborts development by substituting delusion for growth. Voodoo trances, childhood clairvoyance, or lucid dreaming by children or criminals are taken to be indications of advanced development. Why does this occur? Those who have had near-death psychic or mystical experiences have had access to states of higher development, regardless of their age. These states are mistaken for the actual attainment of advanced developmental or transpersonal stages. This occurs because they are so special that the person who had them must be special too. You or I must have some knowledge, some experience, or some secret that we don't. If you have super special experiences, you must be super special. Because they have accessed higher states, you assume that they are enlightened. The same holds true for you. If you access one of these higher states, it is easy to conclude that you are therefore enlightened. This is called ego inflation or grandiosity. It is a higher order narcissism. Others are convinced by your certainty, passion, and charisma. and naively reach the same conclusion. Because of this mutual delusion, those convinced of their enlightenment present themselves to be listened to as the enlightened conveyors of truth, rather than encouraging others to listen to their own life compass. Consequently, they inflict their partial and imbalanced development on those who listen to them. Elevationism, which again raises the pre-personal, pre-rational to the transpersonal and transrational, causes depression and anxiety because it is regressive. It is as if you grew up with wolves and became an expert at growling, barking, snarling, and traveling on all fours. You would perhaps find success among wolves, but if you were exposed to humans, you would find yourself ill-equipped for life among them. Elevationism causes you to first validate and then settle for a relatively immature way of believing and living as a wolf when you are a human, in this example. People who take the Bible as literal truth and put creationism on the same level as evolutionary science are elevationists. They are comfortable in their churches, but find themselves out of their depth with scientists. However, this conundrum is deeper than religion and science. Anyone who bases their reality on their beliefs will find themselves out of their depth in a culture that is free to question and challenge all beliefs. Similarly, anyone who bases their reality on reason will find themselves out of their depth in a culture that is transrational, meaning that it thinks clearly, but yet does not base its meaning and self-worth on logic or logical conclusions. Elevationism is also grandiose in that it imagines life as a wolf or a spiritual literalist is as valuable, or perhaps more valuable, than life as a human, who sometimes, or someone who filters information through reason and logic. This problem develops because both pre-rational stages of development and post-rational stages of development are non-rational, meaning that they are easily confused. Because people who are pre-rational or rational have read about mystical states or experienced them themselves, they can easily think things that are psychic or miraculous are post-rational, when they can and do occur at any level of development. While we normally think of elevation in the realm of religion and spirituality, far greater damage is done in the field of economics. While economists generally know nothing about the transpersonal and care even less, they are very concerned with making principled arguments that are posed as being for the betterment of all mankind. In such a way, they consider their motives to be reflective of the greatest good for the greatest number, which means that from their perspective, their economic theory is better than anything transrational or transpersonal, if such does in fact exist, which of course they doubt. Marx's vision of egalitarian society, idealistic in the extreme, was twisted and corrupted to validate massive oppression and brutalization. This is an example of the first variety of pre-trans fallacy, of reductionism, in which greedy and selfish people take a noble, uplifting ideal and use it to enslave masses. On the other hand, neoliberalism, a conservative libertarian form of capitalism, is an example of elevationism. It so elevates the ideal of prosperity in the form of policies based on trickle-down and austerity that it destroys entire economies from Chile to England to the United States. In neoliberalism, greedy and selfish people concoct seemingly rational, analytically sophisticated and principled reasons to rip off individuals and entire cultures. These people are neo-Darwinian plutocrats who care primarily for their own class and empathize only superficially for purposes of publicity with the needs or concerns of those who lack wealth and power. Their goal is to maximize profits by externalizing costs, which means having someone else, anyone else, or nature pay the price for their exploitation. As the noted economist John Kenneth Galbraith said, the modern conservative is engaged in one of man's oldest exercises in moral philosophy. That is, the search for a superior moral justification for selfishness. From these two economic examples, we can see that the pre-trans fallacy has immense practical consequences, not only for human spiritual development, but also for the quality and ease of everyday life. It determines whether people even have the luxury of the time to consider such issues. An example closer to home commonly occurs when you know what your partner, children, or coworkers are wanting as soon as they approach you. You don't have to listen because you have heard it all before. You believe you can tell them what they are going to say. So, why listen? This is elevationism of your knowledge to the level of intuition, clairvoyance, and principled wisdom. It might as well be transpersonal because in your mind you know what they are saying and why they are saying it, and you already know what the answer is. It is also reductionist and discounting behavior because you know that the other person will not present information that transcends and includes your understanding. Your certainty of your knowledge justifies your ignoring them, thinking about something else, cutting them off, or smiling, nodding, and summarily forgetting what they said. You think you are listening, but if you were asked to repeat what they said, you would be caught in your own self-delusion because you wouldn't be able to accurately summarize what they said. Ideal interviewing is designed to first interrupt and then eliminate this extremely common and arrogant habit. It does so by teaching a phenomenological method that involves suspending all such judgments in favor of practicing deep listening. You can probably recognize ways that you are commonly a victim of reductionism and of elevationism. But how about the pre-trans fallacy itself? You may be a victim of this logical fallacy if you believe any of the following are signs of spiritual attainment or enlightenment. Miracles, psychic phenomena, including telepathy, precognition, psychokinesis, or past life memories. Lucid dreaming, revelations, visitations by deceased relatives or ascended masters, meditation, the ability to do psychic healing, near-death experiences, out-of-the-body experiences, nature, saintly, or sage mysticism claims of enlightenment. Any of these experiences can happen at any level of development. If you claim to have them or seek to develop them, first consider that such desires may be signs of personal inadequacy. You may be trying to compensate for some sort of emptiness by claiming exceptional abilities or attempting to develop them. I know because I tried to do that for years. Such elevationism can also be a sign of narcissism and grandiosity. I think it was for me. While it may be none of these, it is wise to first rule out the above. How to do so? An ideal interview or two should bring a lot of clarity to exactly what's going on. It did for me in my life. On the other hand, if you automatically jump to the conclusion that any of these unusual and amazing experiences are always delusions concocted by ignorant or foolish people, you are ignorant and foolish yourself, a victim of the reductionist version of the pre-trans logical fallacy. Try reading something both scholarly and persuasive, like Michael Murphy's book, The Future of the Body. If you or someone else says, I have life figured out, those who think they see more than I do or know more than I do are delusional. They are actually more ignorant. If you think something like this, reductionism is happening. What to do about it? Well, here's a substitution to try. I feel like my worldview is superior and completely explanatory, but probably isn't, because everyone tends to feel that way. I'm probably stuck in reductionism. Here's the second example for elevationism. If you or someone else says, on the other hand, my experiences, beliefs, and worldview prove that I have attained an enlightened transpersonal level of development, this indicates that you probably are looking or experiencing elevationism. Here's a substitution to try. I feel like my mystical or near-death or life experiences are so one with life and all others that they must be transpersonal and I must be enlightened, even though it's clear that I can be just as stupid, ignorant, foolish, forgetful, and selfish as most other people. So I am probably stuck in elevationism in order to give me a sense of security, confidence, and control in myself and my life. But do I have to do that in order to have peace of mind? Probably not. Thanks for watching. See you next time.